Worship Associate, Dave Lloyd, and our music is led by Jamie Passman, and we're joined by the Celebration Singers. We're excited to welcome again our guest minister, Reverend Suzelle Lynch. The Reverend Suzelle Lynch has been a UU minister for 28 years. She's a graduate of Starr King School for the Ministry in Berkeley, California, and was raised UU. Reverend Suzelle is a co-founder of Black Lives Matter to Wisconsin UUs. Prior to ministry, Reverend Suzelle was a communications professional for a robot company, an artificial language laboratory, and a big insurance company. For fun, she writes songs, makes hats, walks labyrinths, and does upcycle sewing. Suzelle is semi-retired and lives in Janesville, Wisconsin with her fiance, Tom Ness. Thank you and welcome, Reverend Lynch. We keep having new people show up in church lately and people I don't know, which is exciting. If you're new here or visiting, please join us for coffee and snacks downstairs after the service. Grab a green mug so we know to meet you. There's always a lot going on around the church, and you can read all about it in News and Notes, which arrives in your inbox every Friday. If you'd like to receive news and notes, you can go to the church's website, www.hinsdaleunitarian.org, and click on the Connect button at the top of the homepage. Or go to the welcome table in the living room at the back of the church to sign up. Here are some things of note coming up in the very near future. I understand that there are some gift-giving occasions coming up. And you can stop at the fair trade table downstairs after church and buy cool stuff, including books, food, and other items for your gift list or, frankly, for yourself. Today, men's group is meeting at noon in the RE building across the way. Remember, everyone, including not men, are welcome. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is our weekly meditation group. It's still online. Contact Lenny Edgen to sign up. Our Winter Solstice service returns this year live on Wednesday, December 21st at 7 p.m. in the Joshi Auditorium in the RE building across the way. And all this month, don't forget to bring in those catalogs and drop them off downstairs near the door. We hope to demonstrate by collecting catalogs from everybody the huge volume of paper that gets delivered just to the members of this church every holiday season. And now we light our chalice, the symbol of our church and denomination, with these words. The flame we kindle in our chalice holds blessings of warmth, light, and life-giving energy. It shines forth a beacon to guide us all home. The chalice reminds us that we all long to connect and to share. Together, the chalice and flame symbolize our power to shape a world where equity and compassion will shine upon all people. May this flaming chalice offer celebration and solace as we move through the holiday season. May it help us share generously all the blessings we know.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see you again and good to be here with you again this morning. I have a little opening song that I'd like to teach you that was spontaneously created at a meeting when we were trying to get people to sit down and settle in. You're already satin down and settled in, but I think you'll enjoy it anyway. So please sing each line after me. We'll go through it twice. Come on in, come on in, sit right down, make yourself at home, take a look around, everywhere are friendly faces, Isn't that a wonderful thing? Isn't that a wonderful It's so good to be together again. Snap along if you can. Come on in, sit right down, make yourself at home, take a look around. Everywhere are friendly faces, isn't that a wonderful thing? It's so good to be together again. Try it. Okay. Good job. And thank you, Jane. Yeah.
And now it is time for all ages. Pam, do you have things, or just we have a video?
There's, yeah, just a story. I don't see any, but I know everybody will enjoy the story.
The Dark by Lemony Snicket, with illustrations by John Clausen. Laszlo was afraid of the dark. The Dark lived in the same house as Laszlo, a big place with a creaky roof, smooth, cold windows, and several sets of stairs. Sometimes the Dark hid in the closet. Sometimes it sat behind the shower curtain. But mostly it spent its time in the basement. All day long the Dark would wait in a distant corner, far from the squeaks and rattles of the washing machine, pressed up against some old damp boxes and a chest of drawers nobody ever opened. At night, of course, the Dark went out and spread itself against the windows and doors of Laszlo's house. But in the morning, the Dark would be back in the basement where it belonged. Laszlo would peek at the Dark every morning. "Hi," he would say. "Hi, Dark." Laszlo thought that if he visited the Dark in the Dark's room, maybe the Dark wouldn't come visit him in his room. But one night, it did. "Laszlo," the Dark said, in the dark. The voice of the Dark was as creaky as the roof of the house, and as smooth and cold as the windows. And even though the Dark was right next to Laszlo, the voice seemed very far away. "What do you want?" asked Laszlo. "I want to show you something," said the Dark. "In here?" asked Laszlo. "No," said the Dark. "Here?" "No, no," said the Dark. "Downstairs." "Downstairs?" asked Laszlo. "Yes," said the Dark. In Laszlo's living room was the biggest window in the house. Laszlo looked out at all the dark outside. Above him, the roof creaked, and he closed his eyes. Now, the dark was all Laszlo could see. "No, no," said the dark again. "Not there. Down here." "In the basement?" asked Laszlo. "Yes," said the dark. Laszlo had never dared come to the dark's room at night. "Come closer," said the dark. Laszlo came closer. "Even closer," said the dark. You might be afraid of the dark, but the dark is not afraid of you. That's why the dark is always close by. The dark peeks around the corner and waits behind the door, and you can see the dark up in the sky almost every night, gazing down at you as you gaze up at the stars. Without a creaky roof, the rain would fall on your bed, and without a smooth coal window, you would never see outside. And without a set of stairs, you could never go into the basement, where the dark spends its time. Without a closet, you would have nowhere to put your shoes. And without a shower curtain, you would splash water all over the bathroom. And without the dark, everything would be light, and you would never know if you needed a light bulb. "Bottom drawer," said the dark. "What?" asked Laszlo. "Bottom drawer," said the dark. "Open the bottom drawer." "Oh, thank you," said Laszlo. "You're welcome," said the dark. By the time Laszlo got back into bed, the dark was no longer in his room, except when he closed his eyes to go to sleep. The next morning, Laszlo visited the dark in the basement. "Hi," he said. "Hi, dark." The dark didn't answer, but the bottom drawer was still open, so it looked like something in the corner was smiling. The dark kept on living with Laszlo, but it never bothered him again. The end.
Let us sing the dark out of our building with these words. No, you get to watch. You can. Go.
Okay, all right.
All right. Rejoice around you as you go. Go in peace. No one always with you always as you go. Go as you go.
Love that. So I invite you to join with me now in a few moments, quieter moments, a time of meditation and prayer. The words I have to share with you they're adapted from something written by my longtime colleague, the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Spirit of life and love, Spirit breathing in us and through us and all around us, reaching out from each one of us here to touch all of the others in this room, and reaching out far beyond the walls of this building to touch all living things across the earth. We know, Spirit of Life, that the holiday season is filled with the temptation to conspicuous consumption, and that it's filled with pleas for our generosity. The contrast between the values represented by this time of year and our ability to fulfill them remind us of how great the distance can be sometimes between aspirations and actions. December began with the observance of World AIDS Day, and yesterday was Human Rights Day. Even as we celebrate the passage of legislation in our nation in support of same-gender and interracial marriages, these important days remind us of all those across our nation and our world who are imprisoned by illness, racism, poverty, anti-Semitism, homophobia, and gender-based violence. And we remember that the messages of Advent, Winter Solstice, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, these messages of liberation, dignity, and joy are hard to really hear unless they're coupled with our generous acts of outreach to those who suffer. Our aspiration today, then, our prayer today, is to be gentle with others and with ourselves as we navigate the tricky shoals of December as gracefully as we can. May we not be so distracted by our own doings and duties this year that we forget the wider web of community, the wider web of life of which we're part. May we go about our rounds of preparations and festivities with boundless patience, as well as light hearts. May both shadow and brightness be our companions, but not our masters, as we move across the thresholds of holiday after holiday. And may all the joys of the season be ours to receive and also to give. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen.
We enter this space bringing with us joys, concerns, challenges, and blessings. If you have something either weighing or dancing on your heart, you're invited to come up to light a candle. I thought you were doing the song. Okay. Oh, we got to do the song.
We're going to do the song.
Oh, we're going to do a song first.
It's number 55, Dark of Winter. You should have this. I should have just done
No. I should have known you hadn't done it.
It's all right, we're in it together. Winter solstice still, your quiet calm surrounds me, and my thoughts know where they will. Ease my mind profoundly, and my soul will sing a
You may have heard that we enter this space bringing with us joys and concerns. We will now light candles. If you wish, you can say a name, a word, or a short phrase to share your intention. And we're still being broadcast, so first names of people.
Many of you already know that I have recently lost my lifelong love. We're having a celebration of his life on December 18th at Francesca's Amici in Elmhurst. We would really, really like to have as many of you come as possibly can. So please come and celebrate with me the life of my very dear love.
My name is Darren. I'm sharing two joys. One, I got the candle lit right away, which I never get to do. And the other is we're welcoming a visitor from the Appleton Unitarian Universalist Church, Mike Rispenda, all the way in the back, if you could wave, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, my name's David Mrazek. A concern, about a year and a half ago, my wife had hip replacement surgery, and then about 6 months ago, it popped out. And just before Thanksgiving, it popped out again. So she's going to have revisionary surgery on December 22nd, because that's a day when not a lot of people want to have surgery. So we fit in before the end of the year. But when bad things happen, when you can, I just wanted to have a sense of humor about it. When we were in the emergency room and they were trying to get it popped in, I said, you will do anything to try to get out making dinner, Thanksgiving dinner for my mother.
Hi, I'm Sally, and we had to say goodbye to our dog recently, and so I miss her a lot. And she had been abused. We got her from Collie Rescue, and I'm so proud that we provided her a loving and safe place.
Hi, my name is Antonio. My late wife, mother, Jean, suddenly passed away about 2 weeks ago. Some of you might have met her at Musa, so I just want to let you know.
Hi, I lit 2 candles. One for my partner's birthday tomorrow. He turns 30. And also for his former boss who passed away yesterday of complications to cancer and COVID.
My name is Josh. I lit a candle for my mother who was recently in the hospital. She was just recently diagnosed with COPD, so she's been kind of having a hard time with that. So.
I'm Susan. This candle is for my husband, Jeff, whose birthday is Tuesday.
I'm Suzanne. I lit a candle of gratitude. A friend of ours' car got stuck on the Harbor Line train tracks Friday evening. And she tried to get the car off, but wisely got away when she saw a train in the distance. So she's fine. The car's totaled, but very grateful that it came out the way it did. Sorry about her car, though.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I have a joy to share. Our first great-grandson was born 6 days ago.
And I'm lighting one for democracy. Been a tough year for democracy. A brutal dictator. See, I can't get the candle lit. That's right. Invaded his neighbor. And with the help of democracies around the world, they're able to resist. And in this country, we had free and fair elections. So democracy has a lot to celebrate this year. And we light 3 final candles. One for those joys and concerns that are too private to share. One for our community that stands with us in good times and bad. And one for our leaders that they remember where they live and who they work for.
Is the Jewish Festival of Lights. It is a celebration that lasts for 8 days and commemorates the victory of the Maccabees over the Syrian king Antiochus in 165 BC. Upon their victory, the Maccabees set out on an 8-day dedication of the temple. As the story is told, only 1 jar of pure oil was found to light the flame of thanksgiving. Such a small amount normally would have provided light for 1 day. However, the flame burned brightly for 8 days and nights until more oil could be prepared. This was regarded as a miracle by the Jews, and today the festival of Hanukkah celebrates that miracle.
Our reading is by Jackie James from the UUA Meditation Manual, Been in the Storm So Long. Blackmail, blacklist, black mark, Black Monday, black mood, black-hearted, black death, black mass, black market. Good guys wear white. Bad guys wear black. We fear black cats and the dark continent. But it's okay to tell a white lie. Lily white hands are coveted. It's great to be pure as the driven snow. Angels and brides wear white. Devil's food cake is chocolate. Angel's food cake is white. We shape language, and we are shaped by it. In our culture, white is esteemed. It is heavenly, sunlight, clean, pure, immaculate, innocent, and beautiful. At the same time, black is evil, wicked, gloomy, depressing, angry, sullen. Ascribing negative and positive values to black and white enhances the institutionalization of this culture's and every culture's racism. Let us acknowledge the negative connotations of whiteness. White things can be soft, vulnerable, pallid, and ashen. Light can be blinding, bleaching, and enervating. Conversely, we must acknowledge that darkness has a redemptive character, that in darkness there is power and beauty. The dark nurtured and protected us before our birth. Welcome darkness. Don't be afraid of it or deny it. Darkness brings relief from the blinding sun, from scorching heat, from exhausting labor. Night signals permission to rest, to be with our loved ones, to conceive new life, to search our hearts, to remember our dreams. The dark of winter is a time of hibernation. Seeds grow in the dark, fertile earth, and any farmer knows the darkest soil is the best and most fertile. The words black and dark don't need to be destroyed or ignored, only balanced and reclaimed in their wholeness. The words white and light don't need to be destroyed or ignored, only balanced and reclaimed in their wholeness. Imagine a world that has only light or only dark. We need both, dark and light and dark.
Many thanks to Julia Beckman and Jamie Pastman and the Celebration Singers for the lovely music today. Thank you. I first read Jackie James' prose poem that Dave just read for us, called Dark and Light, when it was first published by the Unitarian Universalist Association in 1991. In that little meditation manual, Been in the Storm So Long, which is full of readings and reflections by African American UUs and friends. At that time, I had just begun seminary, and it really made an impact on me. Jackie James's words were kind of a revelation to me. Of course, I knew that the words black and darkness had negative connotations in our culture. I mean, doesn't everybody know that the bad guys are the ones in the black hats and the good guys are in the white hats? And the part about how we shape language and we are shaped by language, I knew that, right? I was in women's studies in the 70s and 80s and psychology, and those things taught me that when we say mankind, we see a room full of men, not a crowd of people of many different genders and gender expressions. Firefighter, mail carrier, or committee chair can be of any gender. A fireman, mailman, chairman, they're men. But until Jackie James' words struck me with their ring of truth, I hadn't really thought about the implications of how we apply the words black and white, or darkness and light. And to tell you the truth, I probably hadn't thought about those things because I didn't really have to. Being white, I wasn't negatively affected by the characterization of black or dark or brown as negative. And that positive spin on white, pure as the driven snow, lily white, little white lie, those were something I just took for granted. So where does this negative understanding of darkness come from? We could blame it on the ancient Greeks if we wanted to. They put Hades, the god of the underworld, on a black throne. Or maybe we should look to the Romans, the ancient Romans, who named death the black hour. But even as those two cultures loaded up black with all the worst things, the ancient Egyptians viewed black as the source of life itself, that dark, rich, alluvial soil created by the flooding of the Nile River and watered by its soil that was fertility and growth itself. And while their god Anubis was black, he was the god of the afterlife, Anubis wasn't negative. He was protective. His work was to shield our beloved dead from evil. So where else do we get this negative understanding of darkness? Well, I found a little story that cracked me up. It's from a mental health reporter, Leisha Bushak. And she wrote, I'm lying in my bed in my bed in my room at home, about to drift off to sleep one night, when I hear scratching. It's a windless night, so the noise is rather strange. It stops and then starts again several times, and soon the scratching turns into the sound of heavy footsteps, dragging and shuffling across the wooden floorboards of the attic directly above me. I feel ice settling in my bones, and my ears perk up to listen for danger. Is it a murderer? Is there a burglar? I'm trying to be quiet and listen, but within minutes I rush into my mother's room and say, there's someone in the attic, Mom, there's someone up there. The next morning, we discover there are raccoons in the attic. The same sound of scratching and shuffling and crawling that terrified me in the night was somehow humorous in the daylight. Most of us aren't afraid of the darkness, but our human eyes, at least those of us who are sighted, our human eyes don't see well at night. And without the easy vision of daytime, we feel vulnerable in the dark. Combine that with the fact that long ago our ancestors discovered that predators prefer to attack under cover of darkness. Maybe it makes sense that we developed a fear of the dark, of the black, of the darkness. And you know, our human minds work by generalizing fears. Fear of the night generalized over time to such a degree that the unknown is an inherent association we make with the color black, at least according to the experts. And the unknown is what we fear most because we don't know, it could be threatening. Leatrice Eisman, a color specialist and executive director of the Pantone Color Institute. Anybody here ever used the Pantone color scale in their work? Yeah. She said, how we see colors in nature has such an important effect on the human psyche. And we know that from the beginning of time, black is the color of night. She goes on to say that we're imprinted from an early age with the idea that the dark night hides nefarious deeds. But you know, non-Western cultures have a different understanding of darkness and light. In Taoism, for example, the symbolism of yin and yang translates to dark and light, but without the dualistic negative and positive spin of Western symbol systems. Taoism says both yin and yang are good because we need them both for the turning, and that there has to be balance between the two for health and harmony. That's why when you see the symbol of yin and yang, there's a spot of light in the black half and there's a spot of black in the light half. Some Indigenous and First Nations people view dark and light this way as well. The Reverend Stephen Charleston, a member of the Choctaw Nation and the former Episcopal Bishop of Alaska, notes that for many North American Indigenous folks, the dark winter months are that time of rest and regeneration, a time of deep spiritual awareness when sacred stories are shared that are not told any other time of the year. Darkness is a place where new life is formed, says Reverend Charleston. You cannot be born without darkness. You cannot take root. You cannot have light without darkness. Darkness is an essential part of the whole spiritual cycle. It's a season, he says, just as we recognize that Advent is a season. So for many of us as Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate this sense of the interdependence of dark and light at the winter solstice. One of the things I love most about this is when we take the opportunity of the solstice to reclaim the beauty and blessings of darkness. I want to share with you a reading my former congregation used to use for the winter solstice. It begins, "Why are we afraid of the dark? Darkness appears as shadow, as silence and suffering, even death. We believe that light is life and that darkness denies it. Yet we also know darkness as the earth that cradles the seed and nourishes growth. Darkness is the soft night that offers up rest. All forms arise from darkness and dissolve into its embrace. Do not be afraid of the darkness. Only in the dark can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear. Surrender to the mystery. In the dark, ground yourself in the deepest aspects of being. There is magic in the dark, born in the quiet hours. Darkness has its own breath, its own resonance. filling our souls not with despair, but with promise. Do not rush the coming of the sun. Do not crave the lengthening of the day. In the dark, our deepest knowing self gestates and grows whole. And so we celebrate the darkness. We honor its mystery here and now. I find that very lovely. What do you think? It's lovely. It is lovely. But it's more important than we might imagine. Because in our community, in our neighborhoods, perhaps even within our congregation, our friends, our neighbors, and fellow citizens are being wounded, oppressed, discriminated against, even killed because of the negative connotations we attach to darkness and blackness and brownness. Remember what Jackie James said, language shapes culture. Culture shapes our perception of one another. That's why for a long time now, I have had a practice of watching the way I use black and dark. I've made a practice of avoiding black, white, dark, light as a juxtaposition to indicate evil and good, good and bad. Instead, I do tend to use the word shadow. For example, if I were talking about a time in my life when I was struggling or depressed, I might call it a shadow time instead of a dark time or a low time. One of my best friends, Maxine Fisher, who passed away a long time ago actually, used to talk about outer times and inner times. And her outer times were the times when she was willing to be present in the world. And for her, the inner time was the time to go within, into that darkness that nurtured her soul. And that reminds me that it's one thing to know about the negative associations that we have with black and dark, and another thing entirely to take action to counter them, to interrupt them in ourselves and in others. That's another reason why from time to time I make a practice of spending time in darkness, to embrace that. I like the way it makes familiar and mundane things mysterious and intriguing. I like how darkness inspires us to use more of our senses. Those of us who are sighted tend to over-rely on vision. And in the dark, we can balance our sightedness with hearing and touch and smell. Yesterday, I took a long walk in the park near our home in Janesville as darkness was falling. It was sort of foggy too, and the softness of the bare tree branches shrouded in fog against the deepening, darkening sky was soothing. I was reminded of our hymn 55, dark of winter, soft and still, surrounding me with quiet calm. The black woods where I was walking were surely a place where that still small voice of love eternal could be heard. That Winter Solstice reading says, all forms arise from darkness and dissolve into its embrace. We know the truth of that. Each one of us grows in a womb, that soft, dark place in which we are nourished. We love the light, but there's sort of a soul quality, a truth-telling, and a dream weaving that we can only find in the dark. We may thrive in brightness, but for our physical and spiritual health, we also do need darkness. In today's politically polarized times, shining light on the issues can be helpful, but we also need the peace of darkness to be able to ruminate and digest them and develop responses that are considered enough to actually make a difference. And for the wholeness of our community and to strengthen our ability to fight the injustices of racism and white supremacy culture, we have to lift up the beauty and the power of the dark. So I wonder, in this darkening time of year, as we wait for the solstice to get here, with its reminder that the days are going to shift toward brightening, I wonder how you might honor the darkness. Will it be through noticing? After hearing these words, will you notice more the way our culture views black and white and counter those assumptions by maybe interrupting somebody and say, you know, I noticed that you are using these terms in a particular way. Did you know that that reinforces stereotypes? Will you have the courage to do that? Will you remember the dark times in your life, not only for what might have been negative about them, but for how they brought you knowledge, brought you depth? Will you turn off the lights and let yourself reflect in the darkness, whether alone or with a friend? As we come toward closing now, I want to share with you some words of encouragement from Jessica Banks, who is a Unitarian Universalist from Minnesota. She wrote, "Darkness harbors things that could not survive the harsh, bare light of day, things that just aren't ready for the relentless energy of sun and wind and other people's expectations. Soft and warm, darkness presses like blankets, soft wings, and loving arms. It's not as lonely as the light can be. Other souls can be as close or as far as we need them to be when we don't have the evidence that light delivers to our eyes. It's not that darkness can't be scary. Often the scariest thing in the dark, though, is the closeness of ourselves, with nothing to distract us from thoughts and memories and regrets. But I say, don't be so quick to light the first spark. Dwell in the darkness for a little while. More than any other creature in the deep winter, we have faith that light will return, so we can afford to give the darkness its time too. I hope this season, before it's too late, you will give the darkness your time, your love, and your embrace, and let it embrace you as well. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen.
This is the time in the service when we invite each other to share our resources to continue the work of this church. On the second Sunday of every month, we share our collection with someone who serves the community, and Mary Getty will tell us a bit about
it. Good morning. We started supporting PADS 7.5 years ago. That was when we staffed the overnight shelter at Redeemer Lutheran for the first time. We've continued to support them even during the pandemic and after the pandemic, which required them to move from the scattered housing sites to a more permanent arrangement. They now have an interim housing center located in a converted red roof inn on the Butterfield Frontage Road in Downers Grove. If you want to look for it, it's between Ashley Furniture and Olive Garden. The IHC is currently at capacity with over 300 clients, 130 of them children, and PADS plans to rent additional motel rooms for others who need a warm place to stay this winter. They are serving more than twice the number of people as they could when they housed clients at churches. PADS currently receives food from volunteers 4 nights a week, but other times are dependent on shelf-stable, microwavable meals. They have a constant need for these meals as well as for toiletries, cleaning supplies, and baby items, diapers and wipes. In addition to the collection this week, we are also going to collect the items on the urgent needs list for the rest of the month. I put copies of this list on a table back in the living room, and it's downstairs in the Alice Warren room, and I think there's a link to it in News and Notes. There are also a couple of boxes downstairs where you can put your donations. I hope you will dig deep in your pockets today, and when you are shopping, remember the homeless and put some extra items in your cart for them. I have a video from the PADS website. It's an older video, but I chose it because it talks about the experience of homelessness. They have a lot of very good videos on their website, and most of those are testimonials that are done by people who have been through PADS and have now ended up in permanent housing. And the people who speak in this video have also gone through that process, but I like what they had to say about being homeless, because I think sometimes we have this kind of image of what the homeless person is, you know, the mentally ill person, the person with substance abuse issues, but it isn't always that. Sometimes it's just life happens. And the woman who introduces the video was their director, but she has since retired and is replaced by a new director, another very caring and energetic woman. So here's the video.
Hello, I'm Carol Simler. I'm the Executive Director of DuPage PADS. The support services that we offer are critical to a person's success. So we start with assessments, case management, and case management is really life skill coaching, and it's helping people to assess what their goals are. And so then what we do is wrap around the services and partner with the community as well to support that person in being successful in reaching their goals. The greatest challenge, of course, is economics. That goes beyond saying. But also, it's gaining people's trust and educating the community to the myths that are out there about homelessness in this county, in this nation. The myths are that people want to be homeless. I do not believe that, and I will not believe it. I believe that a person who's homeless hasn't been given the opportunities that perhaps you and I take for granted in our lives. And so I think establishing trust, giving hope back to people again, is to us the greatest challenge and yet the greatest gift for one.
One day I lived in a home, nice home, cooking dinner, getting kids prepared for school and such. And after he told me he rented the new home to someone else, now I'm a client.
And when they sold their plant, I was out of a job.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't afford my rent where I was staying.
The transition was supposed to be pretty smooth. I was supposed to move out of one house and into another, and somewhere in there, confusion happened, and the realtor said I rented the home to someone else. Ta-da! And that's how I got to know PADS intimately, if you will. Now I was homeless.
Stayed in hotels and stuff like that.
I was staying with friends. It was like frustrating. You have 2 kids that are hyper, they're active, they want to do stuff, and you can't let them do what they want because it's not your own.
It's an interesting position to be in. Now I've always parented alone, but now I'm parenting alone without a place to live, and that's a little bit different.
I developed a attitude, you know, like giving up attitude. You know, you go out and you pound the pavement looking for a job.
Initially you think I don't like the word homeless. So now it's like, I'm really without a home. You try to say it in a couple of different ways to make it feel better. Doesn't always work, but you try anyway. There's a hesitance there that it causes you to break down.
Then a friend of mine referred me to PADS. I went to PADS. Tim was my caseworker. He helped me through everything. He told me what I had to do, my appointments, the letters I needed to get in this program.
I've always known about PADS because I was a volunteer for years.
There's a love and an integrity and a feeling that you get where you don't think about the situation you're in.
And they have a lot of good programs here.
It's a help up, and it's a sense when you go through triage and then you eventually acquire a case manager, you talk through what your situation is, and that person helps you to piece together your world.
That was the best Christmas gift I ever got for me and my kids. Their attitude changed. The way they were really always mad, always crying, always with an attitude. Now they're happy and they could basically do what they want. Mom, we're going out. We going home.
They have a computer study to help you learn how to use a computer to look for jobs. You know, they're a godsend.
Then now that I'm at my own place, I'm like stress-free.
I felt like I had meaning. You know, it's a good feeling.
What's important is becoming gainfully employed or contributing to society as best I can once I find a place to live. And then you can move and work things out from there.
Let's join in these words as we take the collection. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with all the world.
Thank you for your generosity to this congregation and also to PADS. Looks like a marvelous organization. Our closing words come from my colleague, the Reverend Amy Zucker-Morgenstern. Again, they are adapted, and we'll use them to extinguish the chalice, and then we'll sing our closing song. Blessed is the dark in which our dreams stir and are revealed. Blessed is the light into which we awake. Blessed is the darkness of earth where seeds sleep unseen. Blessed is the light that calls the tree forth from the buried seed. And blessed are we, beings of darkness and light, going forth this day into a world where we are blessed by them both. So please rise now in body or in spirit for our hymn. Whoop.
Hello, I'm Carol Simler.
I couldn't do it without Dave here.